All right, ladies and gentlemen, so go ahead and open up your notebooks to page 17. Page 17, we're starting the ecology unit. It is, our focus today is on nutrition and energy, and you are currently in the Independence Station. So again, open up your notebooks to page 17. Throughout this video, you need to make sure that you have a pen ready or a pencil, something to write with. If you want to get a highlighter to highlight certain terms, go ahead up and get one. They are located in the tray underneath Mrs. Hess's desk. So you will see a whole basket filled with highlighters. Go ahead and pause this video and get up and get one if you need it. On the top of page 17, you need to write down the essential question for today. What is the main energy source for almost all ecosystems on Earth? So that is the question we are going to answer. And the answer to it is actually this big ball of fire located on the first, in the middle of your page right there. And it is the sun. The sunlight is the main energy source for all life on Earth. So go ahead and make sure you write that down. Again, if you need to pause it, go ahead and do so. Now, without the sun, we would be, dead. We would all be dead without the sun. So you may be thinking, well, I don't even like to be in the sun. I don't need the sun. You need the sun for heat, but more importantly than that, you need the sun so that you can eat. Even if you don't like your vegetables or your plants that use the sun to create their food, you eat the animals that eat those plants. So you need the sunlight. So again, make sure in your notes right now on page 17, you have sunlight is the main energy source for all life on Earth. So those organisms that use sunlight, or even some organisms store these chemical compounds and then do all the synthesizing inside of themselves to make their own food is called an autotroph. So all organisms that can make their own food are called autotrophs. Now as we go out throughout this year, we're going to start calling this food glucose. It's a type of sugar that these plants actually make, or that these organisms that synthesize chemicals actually make. And we use that food, that sugar, to get energy. So you know right now that you need energy to sit up, to breathe, to lay down, and without food, you would have no energy. So our bodies actually break that food down using the oxygen you breathe to make energy. Okay, so all of these autotrophs are also called producers because they produce or make their own food. So everything you see on your screen right now, you need to make sure you copy down. So again, pause this video so that you can write down the definition to an autotroph and the word producers. Go ahead and do that. All right, so two types of ways producers can make their own food is photosynthesis, and that is a big long word, but most of you have heard about it in elementary school. So photosynthesis is the process used by autotrophs to make their own food. They use energy from the sun plus carbon dioxide, and they give off oxygen, okay, and they use water as well. And so that little sunflower there makes its own food. That food is called glucose. So examples of organisms that use photosynthesis would be plants, algae, and cyanobacteria. The second way that producers make their own food is called chemosynthesis. And this is some strange, wacky stuff. But in places like the bottom of the ocean where there's no sunlight, or in a volcano or a hot spring, there are organisms, both bacteria and these things called tube worms, that actually do chemosynthesis. And so they have chemicals, either they take it out of their environment, so the water or the environment they're in, and they actually can synthesize, make these food sources from the chemicals they extract in the environment. So really strange, guys. We don't really talk about them too much, but they are also a type of autotroph because they can make their own food. And so the picture of the tube worms is right here. This is a hot spring with some bacteria located there. All right, again, you want to write these down in your notes: photosynthesis and chemosynthesis, two types of ways producers make their own food. The next type of organism that we're going to talk about are heterotrophs. Okay, heterotrophs are organisms that rely on other organisms for their energy. That includes us. We eat others. It would be so cool if we could be outside right now and like feeding off of the sun as an autotroph, as a plant, right? You're hungry. Hey, Mrs. Hess, I'm hungry. I need to go outside. And you just stand out in the sunlight, and that's how you eat. Unfortunately, that's not how we actually eat. We eat because we rely on others, and whether those others are a producer, like plants, or if we eat animals that eat plants or animals that eat other animals. So, and heterotroph is broken down into different niches, right? So a niche is the place an organism is located in its environment. It's being, it's where it's supposed to be in the environment. So we have different niches, and you've probably heard these before: an herbivore, carnivore, omnivore, and a scavenger. And so on your paper right now, I need you to make this chart, okay, that you see on the bottom of the screen. You need to write the niche, its description, and examples of each. So an herbivore eats only plants, and examples would be cows, caterpillars, and deer. A carnivore eats only animals, and that would be snakes, owls, and sharks. An omnivore eats both plants and animals, humans, bears, and crows. A scavenger eats plants and animal remains, so they eat dead things. Worms, crabs, vultures, those are all scavengers. Now, I have a question for you. Think in your head, is an insect an animal? So organisms that eat insects, would they be carnivores, herbivores? What would they be? Well, to answer your question, an insect is considered an animal. So whenever organisms eat worms or other bugs, those are carnivores. Okay, so that's where that crow comes in. It eats worms and other insects, and so that's why it would be an omnivore. Okay, as well as berries and things like that it eats. Okay, so again, on your paper, you're writing down the word heterotroph on page 17, and you're making this chart. Okay, pause the video if you need. The last and final thing we're going to talk about are decomposers. Decomposers are organisms that actually break down organic matter and return the nutrients back into the ground. So the grass can grow, the plants can grow, and it repeats that cycle of life, right? Then the animals eat the grass or the plants, and then we eat the animals die, the decomposers take care of them. And so examples of that are bacteria and fungus. Fungus like mushrooms, mold, mildew. Okay, those are all fungi. All right, so that ends the note session. You also want to copy down decomposers, the definition, and examples. But that ends the note section. You want to take a minute. Here are my notes. I notice I highlighted some really important words within the note portion. And so if you would like to, again, do that, please make sure your notes are up to date. All right, have a good night. Have a good night. No, it's only day. Have a good day.